Every Venom in the entire multiverse is about to fight a new alien resistance kind of a thing. It's called Venomverse, and don't overthink it, because trust me, it's a really cool story if you don't overthink it. Enjoy. All was quiet in New York City until the cackling of one of the most psychotic men rings out as he flies by. Jack-o'-lantern swoops in, taunting the civilians, asking, "Where did he go? This guy really needs to learn some boundaries." That's when Eddie Brock's voice tells him, "I'm sorry, but I'm guessing Mom didn't teach me good manners." Eddie leaps onto Jack, knocking him into a building, and he tells him, "We have some unfinished business." As he holds Jack's body over the fire escape, Jack shouts, Okay, you got me. Just take me in." And Eddie asks him, "Are you really begging for your life? Are you growing into a person?" Eddie then lifts Jack over his head and he throws him down to the ground, telling him, "Taking you in isn't an option." Jack's body rockets towards the ground, and as it lands, Eddie jumps down, crushing his spine. Some of the people watching ask what he's doing. Is he going to kill him? And Eddie tells him, "He'll live. Not that he deserves to, but something isn't right." His body begins to twist and distort, and then suddenly he disappears. Seconds later, Eddie is thrown out of the portal and he asks, "What the hell was that? It looks like all of our bits and pieces are in the right place, though." As Eddie looks around, he sees his city only ruined and destroyed. Before he has a chance to look any further, Eddie sees a young boy walking up to him, telling him, "I need help." Eddie pulls back his mask, telling him, "All right, it's okay. Just tell me what's going on." He reaches out and suddenly the boy has a shield thrown into his head. And Eddie turns back to see Steve Rogers in a Venom suit. Steve tells him, "He is not what you think you just saw. And in another second or two, you wouldn't have been any good to me. I need you to come with me right now." Eddie says, Wait. You're Captain America, but not the Cap I know, are you? You just killed a kid." Steve starts to head off, telling him, "Fall in line." As the two head off, Steve says that he'll explain everything once they get to where they're going. The magic that has brought him here is getting weaker. He should have been closer to the checkpoint. Eddie asks, "What do you mean magic? What's going on here?" And then Eddie sees it. A group of superheroes, all with their very own Venom symbiote, and Steve tells Eddie, "Welcome to the Resistance." Eddie looks around and asks, "So, all of these Venoms are from where? Other worlds and realities? Is that really a good idea?" Then Stephen Strange in a Venom suit calls out, telling him, "Actually, it was my idea. This all may be a bit confusing, but you are now a part of a battle for the very survival of our species." Eddie then asks, "Against who? That kid Cap smashed out there?" And T'Challa in a Venom suit steps up, telling him, "We call them poisons. Their touch is like that of poison, consuming us from the inside." And Peter Parker, also in his Venom suit, says, "Wait, can we talk about the fact that we just brought Eddie Brock into the fold? He's a psycho." While the two begin to argue, Flash tells them, "Look, there aren't many of us left. Can we just not kill each other?" And Laura, in her Venom symbiote, shouts, "We need to work together." Those things, they turn symbiotes into weapons, something more powerful than it ever was. And because it ceases to exist as its own entity, so does the host. Peter yells, "Uh-oh, spider sense is going off. You are followed." Suddenly, Poison Hulk bursts through the walls yelling, "Smash!" MJ starts to get Stephen Strange out of there while Flash Thompson provides cover. As the Hulk punches into Flash, Eddie Brock looks at the hole in Flash's stomach and he asks, "I thought they were poison if they touched us." And Peter tells him that's one of the lesser ones that has already merged with the Hulk and his symbiote, so he can't consume anyone else. But he can still smash us! Steve Rogers charges at Hulk, but as he's captured, he shouts for everyone to just get out of there. Andy tells Rocket to seal the tunnel, and then he sighs, telling them, "Oh, we just got this beauty finished. Sorry, Cap." He tosses in the bomb and all of the Venoms split up to escape. Eddie and Peter manage to get out through one of the tunnels and they get back onto the streets, and that's when they see a possessed Dr. Octopus. Eddie asks, "You got this, right? Spider-Man used to trounce this guy in the regular in my world." And Peter tells him, "It would be so much easier for you if you stopped thinking of them as the people that you once knew." Otto throws one of his arms out, telling them, "Two would be so much easier if you would just surrender. Sure, the human host dies, but these symbiotes will thrive in a newer and stronger form." The mechanical arms shoot out and into Eddie's torso, and they throw him into the ground. One of the smaller poisons walks over to Eddie, and Peter shouts for him, "Don't talk to that thing!" Before Peter can explain more, Otto grabs him out of the air and begins to crush him. While the smaller poison continues to creep up to Eddie Brock, Eddie takes a rock from behind it and bashes it in the head. While Otto is focusing on Peter, Eddie then jumps in, punching Otto from behind, and he grabs one of the tentacles off of Otto's face and he bites into it. As Eddie fights with Otto, Peter hears a voice call out to him, and Aunt May tells Peter that she's so worried about him. It's time for him to come alone and see Uncle Ben. Eddie finishes up with Otto by stabbing a pole into his head, and he says, "See, we can take them out." And as Eddie looks back, he sees a white version of Spider-Man filled with the poison. And Peter says, "Spider-Man is no longer here, but I'm going to do what the old Spider-Man couldn't. Kill Venom!" Peter runs in, clawing at Eddie's face, and then he punches him with a force capable of sending Eddie flying. Some of the smaller poisons skitter up, and Eddie asks, "What, you need more friends to tangle with me?" And as Eddie jumps back in, Peter thrusts his arm through Eddie's stomach, asking him, "Who do you think you're fooling here? Even at your best, you were never able to take down Spider-Man." Peter then lifts Eddie up and he slams him into the ground, shouting, "And I am so much more than Spider-Man ever was." Peter begins to punch down onto Eddie repeatedly, and then he picks him back up by the neck, asking the little poisons, "Who's hungry?" The bullets then rain down on the poisons as Wade Wilson calls out, asking Peter if he's seen a symbiote-clad meathead, because he just ran away from the farm and I'm missing him like something fierce. With him is MJ and Old Man Logan, and as they charge in, Peter says, "You could bring us all at once, one at a time or all together. It makes no difference. Sooner or later, we're all gonna feed the beast." Elsewhere, though, Steve Rogers is held prisoner, and as he struggles with his restraints, he's shocked with a sonic blast. A familiar voice tells him, "Don't even try. You see the sonic emitters, right?" Through the door, Sharon Carter walks in, and she says that she can't stand to see him like this. She's here to help. She kneels down, telling Steve that she won't abandon him. They'll get through this together. Back on the streets, the heroes all begin to attack Peter, but with not much effort, Peter manages to hold them all back. He grabs MJ and she tells him, "Go on, Tiger. Kill her. Get it over with." In a moment of hesitation, Peter stops and Eddie gets back at his feet, tackling Peter down. Up above, though, Wade notices Peter's moment of awareness and figures that that's going to come in handy later. Once the four of them all work together, Peter webs off, stating, "Well, now my little buddy's here to convert you all. This fight has lost its appeal. See you around." Back with Steve, Sharon leans in for a kiss, and Steve pulls back, telling her, "You are not Sharon. You are nothing more than a lie." She tells him that he's being stubborn. She was trying to make it easier and less painful. As Steve says, "Go ahead and do your worst." And then the poison spines reach out from behind Steve's head and they begin to consume him. Over with the group, everyone stocks up on supplies and begins to get ready to move out to the next safe house. But as they head out, Eddie asks what Spider-Man was trying to explain a little bit before they were attacked. Logan tells Stephen to go ahead and fill him in. He's in the thick of it now, he deserves to know. So Stephen Strange says that the truth is, they understand very little about the poisons. They are not unlike a virus, one that seems to be designed for their eradication. In their natural form, the poisons are small and fragile, though through some genetic trick, perhaps evolution itself, they are the perfect host for the symbiotes, making them much more powerful. For them to do that, though, they need a host as well. The bonding process requires raw nutrients to work. That meaning that the host is consumed as fuel when they take control of the symbiote. Wade shouts, "What the Weirdo Supreme is saying is that we are all screwed. Every time we run into one of these things, our numbers drop and the poisons go up." Meanwhile, over with the new Poison Captain America, he's asked how he's feeling. And Steve shouts, "Better than ever, sir. Ready to serve my country. I can tell you everything." A voice asks, "What about the source?" And Steve tells him, "I know where to find him and how to capture him." The voice says excellent, and Dr. Doom continues stating that once they have consumed them all at last, they will use the magician to bring in more. Back at the group, Logan leads everyone to Our Lady of Saints Church, the place where Eddie bonded with his Venom symbiote. Everyone walks in getting ready to set up base, and Andy notices something. Someone is missing. Out on the streets, Wade walks down asking, "Anybody there? Specifically a poison who might need a tasty snack. Come on, holla at your boy!" Some of the poisons begin to come out, and Wade tells them, "You know what they say? If you can't beat them, surrender peacefully and hope initiation isn't half as painful as you think." Over at the church, everyone begins to unpack, and Rocket says that he's almost finished with the bomb. MJ says that she thought Steven had another plan. Is the bomb really necessary? And Rocket tells her that once you've been to as many worlds as I have, you'll learn explosives are always necessary. A voice comes out of the bomb, and Ant-Man Scott Lang with a Venom symbiote jumps out, stating that he hopes that he spliced the correct wires together, because he's going to assume that he did, since they didn't all just die fiery deaths. Rocket says that it's not the fire you should be worrying about. This thumper unleashes such a concussive force that it would vaporize your flesh and bones before the flames ever touched you. In another part of the church, Stephen Strange begins to summon another symbiote, but this one is slightly different. Logan tells Eddie that he hopes that he's right about this, otherwise it's their funeral. The portal opens up and the red tendrils crawl out as Carnage tears through, shouting, "I don't know who you are, but for you to take me away from my Saturday night slaying, you're going to regret it!" Eddie tells Cletus, "Look, I know this can be a bit unsettling, but hear me out. Don't do anything crazy. You are brought here because we need you." Cletus looks over and says, "You ain't my daddy. You look and smell like him, but you ain't him. I'm going to bet that you can die just like him now. Cletus lunges at Eddie, and Eddie tells him, we need you. You can murder all you want in spades. And Cletus tells him, don't worry, not Daddy. Whoever they are, we're gonna get them. Logan and T'Challa run up, and Carnage lashes out of them, asking, what's this? Why are there so many Venoms? Is this Christmas morning? Eddie kicks Cletus down, telling him, you're making it really hard to pull my punches. And Cletus shouts, don't you dare do that! Soon, the rest of the Venoms get ready to put Cletus down, and then there's another explosion. From the hole in the wall, the Poisons walk through with Steve Rogers leading them. Cletus tells him, wait, that's who you wanted me to kill? A bunch of messed up superheroes? Well, why didn't you say so? While everyone tries to slow down the Poisons, Steve throws his shield at Cletus, telling him, I'm not sure who you are, but our fight is not with you. Cletus then asks him, do you really think I care? And Steve punches him so hard that the symbiote loosens, and he shouts, that's it! Put him a fight, Cap! But while everyone fights the Poisons back, one crawls up behind Robbie and begins to take over. The transformation begins, and Robbie shouts, why was I ever afraid? It's all so clear now what they want, what they need, is to become so much more. I am! But before he can finish, Cletus stabs through Robbie's back, shouting, Dad, 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 that's what you are! Except Robbie's head turns back around and hits Cletus in the face with a penance kiss. Cletus throws Robbie's body to the ground, telling him, that was a filthy trick! Then the room goes silent, and Cletus asks, what is it? Do they all just leave? And Logan tells everyone, sound off! Who's still with us? And everyone calls out except for Stephen Strange. Moments later, Laura heads everyone down into the street, stating that they're going to need to keep moving or they're going to find them again. Cletus shouts, let them! I want to get my claws wet! While Andy tells Cletus to give the shtick a rest. MJ then says that they need to figure something out. They've already lost half the planet, which means they're going to be bringing in more reinforcements. And Eddie pauses for a moment and then realizes they're not bringing in reinforcements. Strange has been bringing soldiers for this world because he's been giving the Poisons all of the food that they could ever want. And over in Steven's holding cell, Doom walks in and Strange tells him, I should have known that I would have found you among the Poisons. The now transformed Wade Wilson leans in, telling him, hey, remember me? Look, I just want to say this whole thing isn't as bad as you all think. Doom then tells Steven, I hope you understand that there is no ill will towards you, but all of these symbiotes are being summoned from time and space. Steven's eyes widen as he realizes that he hasn't been saving the symbiotes from death. He's been helping the Poisons grow their army. Later that night in the streets, Gwenpool and Victor Creed go on a patrol, and when Creed says that he can smell them, one of the lesser Poisons steps down and begins beeping down on them, and then the crowd explodes. Creed shouts that they've mined the street, and Gwen tells him, you think? More charges begin to go off, and Logan pops his claws, telling them, it's been a while, and right now I'm aching for a scrap. As Logan and Laura jump down on Creed, he tells them, look! It's Old Man Runt and his granddaughter. Creed knocks Logan into a wall and grabs Laura by the throat, telling her, nice try. But before he can do anything, Logan jumps back in, stabbing into Creed's back, telling him, you were always a worthless Mongol. Gwen points her guns at the two Wolverines, and before she can take a shot, Eddie grabs her from behind. She ducks out of the grab and kicks back at him. What's your deal? We've been hunting Hulk Venoms, Captain America Venoms, and you're kinda plain Jane, like the friend who gets invited to the party out of pity. Scott jumps onto Gwen's foot, shouting, don't forget about me! And then Scott grows, grabbing Gwen, shouting, giant-sized ant venom! As Creed gets back up, one of Cletus' tendrils climbs up, and he says, landmines are the only thing that they planted in the ground, baby! As Cletus jumps up, Creed says, so this is your ace in the hole. Thing about secret weapons is they're not so deadly once people know about them. Cletus swipes, cutting off Creed's arms, telling him, just keep believing that! I might even start to believe it! Creed starts to get back up, and before he can attack, Logan jumps in from behind, stabbing into his back again. Cletus then shouts, hey! That was supposed to be my kill! And Eddie tells him, relax, there's plenty more of them. Creed's head is cut off and tossed, and Cletus says, you're just a bunch of spoil sports. Scott then calls down, hey, can I put Gwen down now? Like, pass her over to you guys? As everyone gets ready to leave, Cletus notices that someone is watching them, and later in the church, Cletus keeps Gwen held down, and she says that they all know that they're fighting against something beautiful, right? They only need to stop fighting them. And MJ says if they do, they die, and Gwen tells her, well, yeah, that happens, but when the host is consumed, we start to exhibit traces of their personalities. And Eddie shouts, telling her, we know you have a lair, so where is it? And Gwen winks, stating, I'm afraid I can't do that. This loyalty goes beyond understanding. Rocket then asks, so, if you're hunting symbiotes, why is it you can't control Carnage over here? And Cletus says, because it's a ride they wouldn't survive, rodent. Gwen says they take what has been brought to them, and as for Carnage, they don't understand it yet, but they will. Suddenly, Gwen's head is riddled with knives and shurikens, and Wade Wilson runs in asking, hey, you missed me yet? Andy grabs him, shouting, we tried to stop him, but he's too strong. And Cletus jumps on Wade, shouting, I am so sick of people taking my kills! This one is mine! Eddie yells, don't do it! And Wade says, don't kill who? I'm confused here. Wade stops, puts his swords away, and Eddie asks, why would you kill one of your own? And Wade says, well, she was a knockoff of a knockoff anyway, but she isn't gonna help you. Too much of that poison Kool-Aid. Me, on the other hand, I decided to go through the meat grinder so that I could come back all heroic-like and give you the deets that you need. But you may want to tie me up just in case. Moments later, Wade is set down by Carnage, and Wade says, getting tied up with Carnage tentacles is effective. Gross, but effective. T'Challa then asks, how is it that you're able to fight off the poison's control? And Wade tells him, I noticed it when Spidey was trying to fight back, so I just kind of banked off my brand of crazy that I'd be able to pull through. Eddie asks, so you sacrificed yourself to become a spy? And Wade shouts, I know! I was surprised too, but since no one knows how long I may stay in control, you all might want to shut up and listen. Everyone thought that Strange was summoned to help people stop the poisons, but the truth is, it is something much, much bigger. Since Strange has been summoning more and more people, all of the unique abilities that the poisons have never seen before, they've been loving. And they realize that getting Strange was their real prize. They are so close to eradicating everyone that if any more killing would lead them to no more food. So where it stands is that everyone here is the last line of defense, which is pretty sad when you think about it. But with that said, I'm here to give you one last bite of the old poison apple and give you all Poison HQ. Carnage is tough, but they will beat him. Cletus shouts, you ought to be the first in line to die. And Wade sighs, yeah, sure. Later at the Poison hideout, Steve and Peter walk out and Wade shouts, relax! He walks up, dragging Carnage behind him, telling him, I've returned from the heart of the Venom Central, and while they put up one hell of a fight, I showed them who's boss. I even brought back their new friend for us to dissect. Later, inside the building, Cletus is blasted with sonic emitters, and Steve says, I know the restraints will torment you, yet you struggle. Doom says, we will find a way to counter their vulnerability for those like him. Perhaps even discover a way to add him to our arsenal. And Cletus tells him, you are biting off more than you could chew and choke on. But then he gets hit again with the emitters. The sound rings through the lab, and Wade says, it's loud, huh? That's good. It covers the sound of me gutting someone. He quickly takes out his sword and he stabs it into Steve's chest. And then he tells Cletus, nice job setting off those restraints. Give me some cover. As Cletus is freed, Wade tells him, come on and get up. We still have a job to do. Cletus tells him, yeah. Cause a distraction so that everyone can make a move. Well, strap in. It's gonna be a bloody ride. Elsewhere in the facility, alarms start to go off and Rocket says, there's our signal. Scott tells him, I got this, and the ants start to crawl out eating the lesser poisons. Eddie comes out of the floorboards and says that he's seen some nasty things on his time. But ants? Once everyone gets inside, everyone goes over the plans, and Eddie asks Rocket if he's got this. Rocket says this place is a whole spaceship. Ships have engines and reactors and fuel, which makes them a very fun recipe. While Rocket gets to work working on the terminal, everyone gets ready to move out when Logan is shot through the chest with arrows. He tells everyone, we got some company. And MJ tells him, don't worry, old man, I'll hold them off. Over in Stephen Strange's cell, Scarlet Witch says that the Doctor's defenses are starting to fall. Only a few more minutes now and they can consume him and make even more powerful weapons. Eddie, T'Challa, and Laura all jump out, while Eddie tells them that they can't even handle the weapons that they've got now. Just as the mages start to cast their spells, everyone targets the throats, crushing, slashing, and stabbing through them. Andy jumps in, bashing Scarlet Witch with a wrench, and tells Steven that she really hopes he has another trick up his sleeve. She breaks through his restraints, and he says that he's been struggling to fight back for so long. And Andy tells him that he needs to help them get out of here. Stephen weakly says, I'll do what I can. And he casts a protective spell around Scarlet Witch and the others, holding them in place. Scarlet Witch shouts, you cannot stop us. We've overgrown this world and its reality, and it's all thanks to you, Strange. And Strange tells everyone she's right. And Eddie says, we're gonna see about that. We're gonna end this war that we were brought into. A voice tells Eddie, did you really think about leaving without saying goodbye? And Eddie looks back to see Peter Parker still consumed by the poison. Eddie tells everyone, stick to the plan. I'll be right behind you. Or maybe not. If I die beating the snot out of this guy, it'll be worth it. Back in the control room, more poisons arrive and Rocket shouts that he's almost there. He's got a little something for them in the meantime, though. And he presses a switch and an explosion goes off, shaking the entire ship. As Rocket laughs, Scott looks back to see his daughter, Cassie. Rocket tells him, wait! You know better than this! And Scott screams out in pain as he's devoured. And Rocket goes back to work stating, I can't take a chance saving your sorry hide. Scott yells out, it hurts! I'm sorry, I thought it was Cassie, please help me! But just before the poison can take full control, Laura leaps in, cutting off his head. While everyone runs in, Steven asks Rocket if it's ready yet, and Rocket says, yeah, I rewired the entire place with one big bomb. An injured Eddie jumps in, telling him, good, it's time that we set it off and get ourselves home. Steven says that he can't yet, he's not strong enough. And Eddie tells him, this is the home stretch, you're not dying here. Logan pops his claw, stating whatever they're doing, they're about to lose their chance. And Rocket sets the timer for 10 seconds. Steven begins to channel all of his strength into his spell, and then Wade tells Cletus, you know no one's gonna save us, right? So let me just say, you are disgusting in a cousin marrying a serial killer kind of way. And Cletus says, screw you! And Wade finishes telling him, but there's no one I'd rather die with, Carnage. The bomb goes off while Steven continues to cast. Rocket says, some things I even... And then he teleports away and finishes in the bar, stating, impress myself. Whoa. Eddie is thrown back into his world and says, "We are home." After swinging back to his apartment, he changes so he can go out and get something to eat. Then a neighbor stops him. The man asks where he's been. The super's been looking for him. He's behind on his rent. And Eddie tells him, visiting an alien planet, forming rebellions, and saving the universe. And there you have it, Venomverse left on a cliffhanger. Now this happened right as Marvel said they were no longer doing any more events. So maybe it's going to continue, maybe it's not, maybe we'll hear about it in 3 years, I don't know. But subscribe to this channel because as we find out, I will keep you up to date. And you can find more on Venom right here. We did the entire Agent Venom storyline until he went missing, and I grew to hate Marvel for giving me back Eddie Brock, even though I didn't want Eddie Brock. All I want is Agent Venom. Give me Flash Thompson. I'm going to go cry in a corner about it while you subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter. All right!